Hey, Wantrans here. Welcome to my fourth Platinum Arena Reset push. So we're going to be skipping the intro this week and hopping right into the footage. And we'll see we're going to be using our very standard Kymar, Siphi, Madame Solus combo again this week. But you'll see later on in the battle that I faced particularly quite a lot of difficulties this reset, mainly because of a lot of reaction Guardian Ursakas, and they have so much damage soak from the defending team that I'm unable to basically do enough damage to significantly nuke all of them at once. So you'll see right here I'm doing the double Molly combo, and then right away here I make a mistake and I actually attack Lydia by accident. I should have attacked Arbiter there. So right now the enemy Trunda actually has more turn meter than mine, so I'm trying to knock it down, but unfortunately I get 2 weak hits from my mollies, and she cuts in ahead of me, and my team gets wiped. So that was a bad beginning already to the push, so I go back in and just account for my mistake. And then we're going to A2 Arbor here, I believe, and no issues when done that way. The problem with Trunda's A2 is that if you use it against a team that doesn't have defense down across the whole team, generally only the target that you're hitting will die, and among other champions that also have very low HP, but in that case, Arbiter and that Lydia had fairly the equal amount of HP, so if I chose to hit Lydia, then Arbiter ended up surviving. So we'll see here we're attacking a Hegemon team with my Immunity Molly Hegemon counter team. And then luckily my Madame here, even though I slowed her down a lot to push up her accuracy, she was faster than Warlord there. Because otherwise there was 2 out of 4 units on that defending team that had immunity. And that would have primed Warlord to use his lockout skill. So thankfully I was just a little bit quick enough to prevent that from happening. And then this reset in particular, I was looking for more of a different approach. I was aiming for higher points this reset because for those of you that didn't know, Mad, my clan that I'm in right now, they decided to go for a free-for-all opt-in. So anybody who wishes to take off their Mad tag during this reset, they can essentially choose to hit whomever they want. And then those who decide to keep the Mad tag must follow basic immunity rules, as far as not hitting other members with Mad tags. So this reset in particular, because there was about a fair amount of people, probably around 20 people from my clan that decided to opt in for a free-for-all, I changed my approach to try to attack higher point teams rather than teams that was necessarily more safe, and I was more comfortable in attacking. So that was the only difference mainly for this reset. And personally I chose to just keep the Mad tag because I felt because it was an opt-in basis, it made a little more sense to keep the tag, but as we can see later when you see my finish there, it probably didn't really help. So we're looking quickly at my defense there, just checking to see if my defense is holding, and it's a little bit early and looks like it's about a 50-50 rate, so that's reliable. And then this reset in particular, I actually built a second Kymar, which has more accuracy. Just because I've been noticing that there's a lot of teams that are more resist based, and I think people are trying to find a reliable counter to all these people trying to use Kymars against them, because generally people try to build really fast Kymars and they're unable to push as much accuracy on it as a result. And then that way, if they build a higher resist team, then essentially that Kymar is not able to do anything reliably. So that's the reason why I made that modification. And then it works perfectly against these slower teams which have a resist aura, and I'm not forced to push so much speed on the team. So we're just wrapping up this battle here. That Necrit unfortunately surviving with a slither of health, and pushing this battle to a little bit closer to a minute, I think even a little bit over. Just on the dot, 1 minute. And then we're refreshing again, quickly just hopping straight down to the bottom of the page, And then like last week, we noticed that there's people running, again, very, very slow defenses. So first, I'm unsure, because some people just have like a hidden very fast CP, and even though they're not running a speed lead, they can catch you off guard. So this first time here, I decided to put my Valkyrie in just in case their CP was quicker, but it turns out she was actually slower, so that gave me the mental note that for next time, if I do see this team, I should bring in my Warlord just to help secure the victory, as my Valkyrie here is actually doing absolutely nothing. So unfortunately a ton of Swift Parry on this team, which is of course to nobody's surprise. Just quickly do a sleep there, finish Valkyrie off, and then we move on. I noticed that this team here had quite a lot more power, so that meant it's a more high resist based team, and I was reluctant to attack that because my Immunity Molly Hegemon counter team is highly reliant on the provokes landing, and I didn't want to take that risk and potentially have the provokes resisted and getting stalled out on that battle, so I made the wise choice of skipping that battle that I was just looking at there previously. And then we see here, there's a first of my nemesis here, that Guardian set Ursakas with reaction meta. It's probably, I would argue, the best defense champion currently in the meta. Simply because I think with her passive combined and the Guardian set effect, you're essentially soaking 60% of the damage from all your other allies, and when you factor in Duchess's passive to negate AoE damage on top of that, it really, really makes a kink on trying to attack the opponent with, you know, AoE style offense strategies. You'll especially see that I'm running in a lot of trouble and getting stalled out quite a bit later on when I face some Ursakas. And then the ironic part was I came into this battle thinking that I should avoid Ursakas for that reason, because I know they could be kind of risky to go against, but I felt like, heck, this is like one of the first free-for-all opportunities that Mad's offering, so I wanted to really test out the defenses that they had. So this battle in particular, I'm attacking Mac Chan here, and as you can see, my Solis's AoE is just simply not enough to do enough damage to wipe the team. I luckily get some provokes off, but unfortunately the entire team essentially stayed alive here, so despite the amount of crazy stats I've pushed on my Solis, it's just not enough to cut it. So that's certainly something I gotta make adjustments for upcoming resets, and make a sufficient counter for these Ursaga teams, because they've really been giving me trouble. As you can see here, because they survived and it's a sufficiently quick Warlord on the opponent team, he managed to lap my Solis and lock me out. So I back out of the battle there. I was not pleased with the outcome there, so I wanted to try something else and see if I can crush through that defense. So I think I make some adjustments here and decide that I'm gonna swap out my CP because it's unneeded and bring Warlord in for the insurance. And then I decided to bring my Savage Trunda instead this time. So I was right, my Kymar could just sleep the team immediately before they had a chance to get a turn. And then luckily Ursaga there got her turn first, and much better difference here. I was able to essentially snipe out the team with the exception of Swift Parry saving them with my Trunda's A2, and because my Warlord locked all of them out, they are just waiting for death right there. So that was a nice 20-second win as opposed to getting stalled out for upwards of probably like 2 to 3 minutes. And then we see here another basic Siphi, Duchess, Warlord Necra team. So I go back with my standard Solis combo. And I think for most teams such as these, with simply just mitigation from AoE damage from the Duchess, but no Ursica on the team, I'm able to actually do enough damage with my Solus without issue. It's only that I'm finding I'm running into issues when I'm against Ursica teams with Duchess. So I think there's another new legendary from the Bannerlords faction. I believe his name is like Helior or something like that. He kind of looks like Lord Chamfort, and he has like a shield with a red sun. I think his passive is very similar to Ursica, and those essentially, Ursica and that Helior dude, they're on the top of my wish list right now as far as giving myself a little bit more defense options. So we see that there's a shield-based Tormund here, very high HP and super tanky, but I'm able to finish that battle off in about 20 seconds. Then we see another team here. I believe it was the team I attacked before. Still a lot of very slow based teams, and allows me to just safely use Warlord against it. I think later on in this reset, I'm actually running into a little bit of issues, even though I am able to bring Warlord in. It's just simply because a lot of these defenses were, I guess, new to me, as I'm so used to just hitting non-mad defenses, but this time in particular I'm just going ham and enjoying it. So here we are, just finishing off this battle here, 30 seconds or so left, and that wraps that. And then just take a quick look at my defense, still about like a 50-50 win rate, so decide to not make any changes during the reset. And then we're attacking Mac Chan again here. And then, unfortunately, you'll see that Warlord there. The problem with using Warlord is that his A3 has a 50% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter, and it's actually not ideal in this case because I know for a fact that Mac Chan has reaction accessories on his Ursica, and the fact that it was able to push Ursica's turn meter down, unfortunately, that means that the reaction is still active on that unit. So I decide to use A2 on a different unit. I think I chose like Siphi, as she was like around the next highest HP. But the problem is the reaction Ursica paired with the Guardian set really ends up soaking so much damage that my A2 essentially was not enough to wipe the team. So that's the problem with the reaction Ursicas. They prevent you from being able to use A2 with Trunda on separate targets aside from herself, because she's able to soak around 60% of the initial damage, and it just severely hinders the amount of splash damage that the Trunda A2 is able to achieve. So I back out there, try again, and unfortunately Ursica still did not get her turn there, because she's just so slow, and that's actually just like the perfect ideal build for Ursica right now, is to make her super slow, put her in Guardian set, and have reaction accessories on her as well. But luckily, the reaction did not proc on her there, and then even despite all that, that Siphi still managed to survive so well. It's just crazy how tanky and how good the gear of Mac Chan's is. But we were able to clean that up, and I mean, despite these little losses in between, I think Mac Chan was high in the leaderboards, so I was able to get like upwards of like 14 points per victory. So even though I do sometimes take a small loss, I'm able to still win quite a large point threshold. That's why I decided that it would be wise to continue attacking Mac Chan. So we wrap that battle up there, and again, a very essentially identical team. And then for this battle in particular, I'm not sure why I decided to bring my non-immunity Madame and Trunda, but luckily when Madame got her turn and put the shield on herself due to her passive, she did not freeze herself there, so I lucked out here, and that's probably like one of the very few times I lucked out. And it's funny there, the Warlord and the Tormund barely had any HP, and then the HP burn ironically on Valkyrie actually ended up finishing them off there. But luckily I was able to pull this through using my Savage Trunda without any issues, despite not having immunity to begin the battle with. Yeah, as you can see there, right away, I run into an issue where Ursaga unfortunately procced that reaction. And then what's worse is that the terrible RNG caused Ursaga to actually counterattack and land that lock skills on my Trunda. And then Warlord also counterattacked because he sustained enough damage from my Trunda's A2 initially that he actually extended that lockout on my Trunda. But I think here, unfortunately, I decide possibly to continue carrying on this battle because I think I'm able to, run it out and still pull the victory off. I think at this point it's a little bit iffy because I have this huge lockout on my Trunda here. It would have been actually wise for me to actually back out of this battle like 30 seconds ago. But as we know, none of us like losing. So where we can, we try to squeeze in the victories if we are able to. But in this case, the actual amount of time that it takes to try to grind through this battle is actually not ideal. And it actually ends up hurting more than actually benefits. Luckily, I'm able to lap back around, get my sleep off to prevent Warlord from getting his turn. And I'm just trying to squeeze enough time there to pull that A2 off on that Ursaga, and unfortunately, again, that Duchess is able to survive and revive the entire team, so I try to quickly reset here with my Kymar. And unfortunately, my Trunda went ahead of my Madame there, so I was unable to put a debuff, the defense down on everybody, and strip them. But luckily I have my Warlord there, and I'm just constantly locking them out. A little bit of Uno reverse card there, using Warlord against Warlord. And it's just nuts, as you can see. That Ursaga just like soaked so much damage that those two revivers, Duchess and Siphi, are essentially untouched. So this is a very bad choice already, but since I've already committed, I felt like I will grind this battle through. And then at least I'm able to keep the Siphi controlled at this point. Crazy how tanky she is also, just survived my Trunda there again. I guess the downside with this type of combo is that I'm running without attack up, and I think you can't expect Trunda to wipe the floor with everybody, because she's just an OP champ. The fact is you need quite a lot of synergy, including attack up and defense down if you want maximal damage output on her, and especially against these super tanky teams such as these, you sort of need all of that in order to cut through it. So here again we see another Ursaga, and as we can see there goes reaction proccing already. And then I'm going back to bringing Solus in. Thankfully for this battle I'm actually able to do enough damage, and that was actually fairly quick. We're actually already down to the last 2 minutes, which is absolutely crazy. Like, time flew so quickly during this reset here. I see a high resist team, so I switch out for my higher accuracy, slower Kymar. I'm able to reliably strip Panda's team this time and sleep them. And then that's able to grant me my Solus's turn. Again, another HP shield Tormund, which is super tanky, and even if all else fails, that Tormund at least will stall you out for, by looks, like another 10 seconds at least. We're down to the last minute here. I noticed that Revon, I was able to defeat his team fairly quickly last time with this exact combo. But unfortunately for this last battle here, I run into quite bad RNG. Possibly a little bit of poor choices as well, which amounted to this battle not being able to squeeze in before the reset ended. So right here I should have slept the Warlord instead of boosted with my Siphi, but then I chanced and used the AoE on my Solus, and unfortunately Swift Parry procced on the team. And essentially at this point in time I knew that because I was burnt out on my Solus and that he had both his AoE used twice and my Kymar's reset skills on cooldown, that I'm going to be stuck in this battle for the end of this reset. So I'm just putting an auto here, doing a little manual work here just to wrap up this battle. And I think at this point in time, if reset was actually done, I could have just exited this battle and it would not actually affect my overall finishing placement. But I decided just, hey, what the heck. Let's just stick in here and finish this battle off. So many reaction Guardian Ursagus. If anything, I learned that she is my most wanted champion and also my biggest nemesis right now. As you can see, she just soaks so much damage, and standard AoEs, more so like a little bit weaker ones, such as Solis's, is just not enough to cut through it. And then at least I'm able to land these couple provokes here and help squeeze through. Fortunately, I get to sleep on my Solis there, making this battle even longer. And at this point, I should have just safely exited this battle, as it would not count towards the reset anyways. So yeah, that's clearly a sign that possibly Solis is not cutting it in this meta currently, as his damage output's just not quite enough. Because, I mean, if you have defense up on him, and you also have defense down on the whole opponent team, and you're simply just not able to pull enough damage out, then really, at that point, it's merit for considering retiring him, unfortunately, as sad as it seems. So we're looking at my defense here very quickly, just doing a quick gauge to see how my defense performed. And this week in particular, I chose a very odd, weird style defense, and it looks like there was no intimidation factor on it, and a lot of people just safely attacked me without too much regard in terms of whether they would be successful or not, and it looks like a lot of people are actually successful against it. So it didn't do as well as I imagined it would. I checked my placement finally, and unfortunately this week I only placed 89. And I accidentally backed out of screen there, and I didn't see what my pieces were this reset. And it looks like the first weapon there already looks mediocre. I'd roll it anyways, just in case it rolls like triple HP and the last roll it gives me speed. At least I get one good speed boot here, which is useful, but that aside, essentially a lot of the other pieces weren't as good, but if you compare it to my last reset, the loot from this reset wasn't that much different, so at least I was thankful for that despite the worst finish this week. I felt like overall for this reset in particular, my offense was a little not as on point as I would like, but overall I felt like it did decent, as my win rate was decently high. The main thing was, I think, which led to a lower finish this reset, was that my defense wasn't holding as well as it could, and just during the last 3 minutes there on my defense log, you'll notice that I think up to 5 to 6 people successfully won against my defense, and that essentially chopped out like a large portion of points that I was able to walk away with this reset. So those things amounted together, led to a worse finish this week, and it gives me a lot of motivation to try to push my defense game a little better for next reset, as well as my offense team to deal with those reaction and guardian set Ursagus. And another thing that this reset highlighted was that I should swallow my pride as far as trying to force victories when I'm already stalled out in a battle for so long, and the overall effect is actually more harmful for me to actually stay in the battle, because those 3 minutes that I used to force a victory could have been used in many other battles to easily win shorter and quicker victories. And that's something I'll keep into consideration for upcoming resets and make modifications for. Thanks for sticking around with me again for another weekly reset platinum push. Sorry I did not uphold to expectations as a higher plat player, but where we make mistakes this week, we make up for it in following weeks, and we try to improve our game. So thanks again for sticking around with me, and until next time, WAN Trans out.